I just finished installing and timing the diesel fuel pump on the TD42. So how do you do it? I'll just run the intro and we'll get into it. I just realized I haven't got the front pulley on, which has got the timing marks for top dead center. So I'm sure it's pretty close, but just to be absolutely sure, I'll put that pulley on, and then I've got my timing marks, and then I'll be able to do my fuel pump. So I'll just get onto that now. So putting that front pulley on was pretty straightforward, and then there's like this cone shaped doofer here, and you're just basically putting it onto the keyway, so you can't get that wrong. And then that's got a keyway as well, so just line that up with the keyway that goes in the 55mm nut, and then tighten that up and you're away. So with timing the fuel pump, you need to be on your compression stroke at top dead center on number 1. And the way you do that is there's 2 marks on the pulley. There's, if looking at the motor from the front end on, you've got a right hand mark and a left hand mark. You want the left hand mark lined up with the mark on the housing of the engine. They said it was at top dead center when they did it, but I just put the pulley on and notice it's a bit out, so you can just, when there's no compression with a head on, you can just turn it by hand, obviously. So I'll do that. There it is. So those 2 marks are perfectly lined up there. And then what I'll do is when I put the head on and I put the valves in and all the top end is assembled, I'll just check that there's no movement in the valve clearance, because obviously on a compression stroke they'd be fully loaded. So I'll just check those 2 and make sure that they are fully closed, and then I'll know that that is indeed timed to the compression stroke on TDC of number 1. So that's your timing side of things. When you get your injection pump back, they will give you the timing specs that you're timing the pump to. So in this instance, at TDC, and obviously number 1, we all know that, it's 0.7. And when you're doing your nut on the front, which is this nut here, 70 newton-meters of torque. So that's straightforward. So I'll unpack this and get it onto the car. So basically what you're doing is these 3 here go on to those 3 there. So with the timing, these studs here are fixed, but on your pump, where it goes is slotted. So essentially all that's happening is when it goes on here, and it's all mounted up, if you loosen the nuts on here, you can actually turn the fuel pump in those slots. So at some point in that turn is going to be the correct timing of the pump. And so all we've got to do is somehow measure that turn, and that's your timing. So we'll have a look at that. And just another tip, just grab a snap lock bag for putting your bits in. So this is bits related to my fuel pump. I've got my glow plugs in here as well. So it's just one way of just knowing exactly where bits and bobs go. So once you've got the pump all positioned, you got your bolts, you've got the pump on the locating lugs, the studs I mean, and it's loose but it's in place. The next thing is to put your pulley on, and with your pulley, if you examine the face, you'll find, where are we? Here we are. So I don't know if you can see this, but on the face there are two Z's. I'll just see if I can, yeah, there they are. So you've got the two Z's just right there. Then on this pulley in here, this one, there's a Z there. So you want that Z to land between the two Z's on the other pulley. And then the way, you obviously got a key and a keyway, so you're gonna have to rotate the pump so that everything marries up and the three Z's. So when you bring this pulley in, I'll just come around here. So I'll put my light on here like this. Where can I put that? So when you bring it in, so like that. So I'll just pause it so you can see what that looks like. Give me a minute. Alright, I just took the phone off the tripod and there it is there. So you got your three Z's. So you can see that it's landing right in the middle of those two there. So timing wise, that's pretty much it. You've got your left hand mark on here to the mark on the actual engine casing, and then you got your your three Z's all lined up there, and obviously it's not on the keyway yet, and then it'll be on the keyway and everything will have lined up nicely then. So I'll just go on and install all that and get it done, and then we'll come back. The first time I ever did this, and then you finally got it all torqued up. Remember, this is to 70 Newton meters, this nut here. As the pulley goes back, it looks like it loses alignment, but it doesn't really, because these gears are tapered. So if you just follow the Z back up the tooth still lands in the middle of the Z's. So don't let that fool you. And where that is a bit of a pain, it's easy to look at that when you're, you've got the engine out, but most of the time I've done this, it's been with the engine in the engine bay, and likely most people would be refitting the fuel pump with the engine still in the engine bay. And so you're looking down on an angle, and everything that it looks skew with, it doesn't line up, but all you do is you just put a little bit of white out on that Z, put some white out on where it should land, and then you just follow the tooth up, and the tooth will land between the two Z's. So what tools do you need to fit up the, to time the fuel pump? So the name of these fuel pumps, I think they're I don't know, a VE style, VE style fuel pump is the wording. So you just go on eBay and you buy a VE style tuning tool or gauge or whatever you call it, and it'll just come like this. They're really cheap online. So basically all it is this plunger here goes inside the fuel pump, and see how when I push this up and down, it moves this end here. So that goes into the back of the fuel pump, and then as the plunger moves, it moves that. So you need that, a VE style tuning gauge or whatever it is. And then you just need an ordinary dial gauge. So I prefer analog, but the only one I've got is a digital one. So just a dial gauge of some, and you need I can't remember what it is, but like travel wise, I think you need 5mm travel, and the more accurate is, the better. But I can't see how it would really matter, as long as it's like at least 0.01 of a mil accuracy would be good. But you can get more accurate ones, but they're going to cost you a fortune. So this will do the trick. So all you do is you take your dial gauge, whether it's digital or analog, it doesn't matter. And then you put that into your VE style tuning doofer. And you just take it part way through the travel, like that, and then clamp her up. So now, when the plunger pushes on here, you're going to get your reading. And that's all you need, really, in order to be able to tune your fuel pump. But like I say, it is better to have an analog one, because when you see the needle moving, it's just a bit, for some reason it's just easier for your brain. But yeah, like I say, I've only got a digital one, so that's what I'm going to be working with. So the place you put your VE style tuning doofer is in the back of the pump here, and so you've got all the outlets for each fuel line, and in the middle of that is a little nut, and it is a 12mm, and you just crack that. And that has like a little copper washer in there, so don't lose that. I like to take the washer with me when I bring it out. And then what you're doing is your tool has a thread on it, and the thread is the same size as the the bolt you've just taken out. So now you wind that in there till it bottoms out, and then just orient your dial gauge so you can see it clearly. Then you're good to go for timing your fuel pump. Right, so at this point you've got your tuning tool in the back of the fuel pump, you've got your dial gauge all set up, and just have that set up midway in its movement range. Now, why are we on this side? So we've already timed everything. So you're at TDC, which is the left hand of the two marks. So that mark there is lining up with this one here. So that's cool. Your Z's are all lined up. That's awesome. All the mounting nuts and bolts on the actual pump are loose, but just slightly nipped up, so that the pump, you just have to sort of loosen one and you can move the pump. Now what you're going to do is you're going to move the engine in the wrong direction of travel. So it normally goes this way, so you're going to move the whole engine in that direction. So because there's no compression, obviously if you had a head on and everything, you'd need to put something on this nut to turn the engine over, but it's easy, I can just turn it by hand. So I'm going to turn it in this direction here. So looking at the front of the car, it's anti-clockwise. And then as I do that, you're going to watch your dial gauge, and your dial gauge is going to move hard out, but at some point it's just going to stop moving. That's when you stop. So it's going to be hard for me to shoot both angles where you can see me doing everything. I'll try and get the camera set up as well as possible, but I'll just move now to the dial gauge. So I've tried to set this up so you get a good view of the pump and that front pulley. There it is. So here's the front pulley here, and remember we're going to be going anti-clockwise, so down this way. Now there's movement in my dial gauge. So you got movement there. So what you're doing is you're basically just moving this pulley down until this dial gauge stops moving. So just watch the dial gauge as I move the pulley. Okay, it started moving. I'll just wipe that grease off it. Okay, so you can see it moving. I didn't actually have my fuel pump locked off, so I'll just do that. It was moving the whole fuel pump. No, you can't see that. There it is. You can see the numbers, right? So I'm going to keep going now. See, it's moving, still moving, still going, still going. Alright, so I'm moving the pulley, but this has stopped moving. So that means that we're at the point now where we can zero the dial gauge. So we zero it, we're at 0 point. Now we just go back around and return this pulley to TDC. So I'll just pop around and do that. So I'm going up to TDC. Oh. Oh. Right, that's on top dead center now. Now, this is how you time it. So you've got your timing here. It should be at 0.7. At the moment it's at 0.1. So you undo your nut on your fuel pump, so that the fuel pump's now loose. And you twist the fuel pump until this goes to 0.7. 0.3, 0.5, 0.65, 0.74, 0.7. So it's just jumping between 6, 9 and so I'm just going to lock it off there. And I'll go through and lock them all off, because that's going to have an effect obviously on how it sits. See how it's going up to 7.1 as I do them up. Now, just for the sake of being exact, I'm going to just back these off here. There it is. And go back up again. Right, so, and there's one more bolt at the back here. And lock him up too. Alright, so that means that your fuel pump is timed to 0.7. And just for funnies, if you want to check it, you know, let's just say I'll move my dial gauge so it's completely wrong again. So I got a completely different reading. I could just run through that process again and get the same reading, obviously. So if we go, just start moving it around. Yep, so we've got 0 point there. 0. Go back to TDC. Just find top dead center. Oh, it's hard to find top dead center. Oh. Yeah, there it is. And what does it say? I'll just come around and have a look at it. Yeah, look at that, 0.7. So it doesn't matter what you do now, it's always just going to be 0.7, isn't it? Because the pump is timed correctly. Then all you do is you just wind out your tool, your VE tuning tool. You put your nut back in, your bolt back in. You ensure that the little copper washer is on the back of it. And yeah, you've got a tuned, not a tuned, what would you call it? A timed fuel pump.